Shikoh, as you all know, was the man who was never king. He was made crown prince very young. At the age of 18, he was anointed crown prince by his dad Shah Jahan, whose favorite child he was. He was always heir apparent. He was his father's favorite child, and he was anointed at a very young age. But he was far more, and he was a wonderful, liberal, open-hearted, and a man who was very interested in mysticism, sort of like his great-grandfather Akbar. Very into Sufism, also because he had a Persian mother, and into any text that explored the mystical was very interesting to him. And he did lead many campaigns and everything, but his heart was really in finding common ground between Sufism and the philosophy of the land that he was born in and ruled, which was India. So he kept trying to find parallels. And he was married to this woman called Nadira Begum, who was his Nadira Banu, who was, by all accounts, they had a very wonderful marriage. And in 1640, when he was born in 1615, so he was about 25, right? Yeah. And he was on a holiday in Kashmir with his wife, and he heard for the first time about what he calls the Upanekhats. He heard from the Kashmiri Pandits about some texts, some ancient Indian texts that were considered the holiest of the holy. Now, this instantly intrigued the young man, and he said, I want to know more about this. So he got Pandits from Banaras, which was, the oldest inhabited city in these parts, and among the oldest cities in the world, where all the Pandits were. He got a whole contingent of Pandits to come from there and to be with him at the Manzil-e-Nigambodh, which was his palace on the banks. So he was still the prince, remember, he wasn't the king. He never became king, sadly. But this was on the banks of the Yamuna, the Manzil-e-Nigambodh, which is at the back of which is where the Nigambodh Ghat is right now, and had always been the Nigambodh Ghat. Right by that was the Manzil-e-Nigambodh by the Yamuna, and he got people there to sit behind the Red Fort, actually. To sit there and interpret and teach him and explain to him every word meaning of the 52 or so Upanishads that they had access to at that time. And this prince actually sat down and translated all of these 52 Upanishads, apart from texts like the Bhagavad Gita and the Yoga Vasishtha, into Persian. So taken was he by the Upanishads that he even called them, he believed very, very strongly that they were the Kitab al-Maknoon. What is the Kitab al-Maknoon? The hidden book, which is referred to in the Quran as the source of all wisdom. He said, you know what? I think the Upanishads are what the Quran was referring to when they mentioned the Kitab al-Maknoon. And in 1656, he came out with this translation, the Persian translation of the 52 Upanishads, which he called the Sir-e-Akhbar, which was the greatest mystery. Like I said, Paramam Guhyam, the ultimate secret. So he called it the Sir-e-Akhbar. Unfortunately for Dara Shikoh is like the grandeur of Darius, the star of Persia. So he had such a beautiful name, and he was so beloved both by his subjects and his dad and everything. But unfortunately for him, 1656, this book comes out. 1657, his dad Shah Jahan falls seriously ill, and the battle for succession begins. And his younger brother Muizuddin, who was later Aurangzeb, had a serious ambition. I mean, this was common to all Mughal succession. It was always bloody. But while this man was a very sophisticated creature of the mind, Aurangzeb was very skilled in battle, and he had won many campaigns. And so he got defeated. The battle for succession began in 1657. By 1658, in the Battle of Samugar, or the Jang-e-Samugar, Dara Shikoh lost, and then was forced to retreat. And finally, he was captured in another battle, and Aurangzeb brought him. And he was always suspect by the Muslim clergy. They were like, who's this guy? Why is he interested in all these things? Why doesn't he just uphold the Muslim faith, the Islamic faith? Why is he always interested in so many things? And so he was always, at best, he was treated as a maverick, at worst as a great danger to the Mughal Empire by the people in the court. So as soon as they got the opportunity, and Aurangzeb defeated him, Aurangzeb brought him into Delhi, paraded him on a filthy elephant in the streets of Delhi, and then was taken away in chains and beheaded. In 1659, that was the end of this great emperor in waiting called Dara Shikoh. And many historians continue to debate about what the future of the subcontinent might have been if it had been Aurangzeb that died and if Dara Shikoh had become the emperor. And that's something for you to chew on